This is episode 2 of the Sports Card Man Experience. So, in this video, I'm going to show you how to look up the PSA future registry for future football Hall of Famers. So, basically, what I did was on Google, I just searched PSA future Hall of Fame rookies for football. And this is what I came up with. You just get to a couple more clicks and it shows you all of the cards that you should be buying just because those are listed as the registry cards. So what that means is the card is always going to have good value because it's listed as a registry card, and a lot of collectors want to collect the registry card and just because they want to complete the set for the registry or they just happen to like that player. So what I'm going to do is also point out, which future Hall of Famers that I like on this registry, and I'm going to point out some other football cards for newer players that I like too, that I think are going to go up in value. Just because football has been red hot already, and this is kind of a rare year where obviously we don't have baseball, we don't have NBA playoffs going on. So football is actually already trending up in April, which is never the case, other than when the draft is going on, and then it kind of loses all of its momentum after that. So one of the first cards I like is Calvin Johnson, Topps Chrome. It's a card that you can see here. Their pop, it's saying it only has 53 tens. Sometimes this is a little outdated, and sometimes it's a little more updated. Actually, it's 198. I was looking at Patrick Willis. But that's still a really low number. Like 198 is not that many. So I ran a completed search and see that the last one sold for $75, right? So let's see if there's any to buy of him on here, right? And you see that there's none on. So what that tells me is that card is very underrated, and I think it's a card that's probably around 125, maybe 150, and he's also a guy that's scheduled to go in the Hall of Fame in 2021. I think he has to be a first ballot Hall of Famer just because of how dominant he was. Just I mean, the guy's nickname is Megatron. So, and he has the single season receiving yards record still, which I think he set in 2012. So yeah, Calvin Johnson is a no brainer for me, even in if you can get him in a BGS 9.5 or if you can get it ungraded. So let's see what a BGS 9.5 sold for. You see, there's none even that are available. I mean, 55. I think that's going to be worth that all day. 55. I think this is probably like a $60 card and a 9.5, 75, and PSA 10 probably a little higher. So you even see like a couple of refractors of him are selling, X-fractors, but there's no base of him that's selling. Recently, this is a 9 that probably was around $15. So yeah, he's my first buy on my registry. My next one, I'm gonna do a newer card. I'm gonna kind of jump around here, shift gears. Is I like Dak Prescott a lot, and the reason why is because he was playing really well last year, and I think he'll even play better this year. Um, and a lot of people have him really highly rated, um, based on just the fact that they're thinking he's going to only continue to get better, and he is actually a cheaper option of probably, let's say, like Watson, who I liked a lot at 150, and I see Watson is around 200. So Dak you can get for 125, 150. This is probably a 225 card. Once the season starts. So I saw this one right here was for 150. So with tax you're in for 160 ish. So there's still good upside, and a lot of them have sold a lot higher than that. So I think ultimately that is going to sell very fast. It's not my card. It's not anyone else's that I know or anything. It's just a really good buy, just because it has a lot of upside. And let's say you wanted to find out how many DAX there were in tens, right? So there's a couple ways you could do it. You could literally copy this number here on the PSA cert app and just type that in, and it'll tell you, how many are out there, how many, are on the registry, things like that. Or you could go on here, which is the PSA population report. I just clicked here, and I did and like you'll see a search. You just type in like Dak Prescott, like Prism, right? So it actually gives you the whole set, which is kind of annoying. So you have to go down to the card number, which I think he was like 231. Let's see. Yep, 231. So, and you want to look for base, which is right there. So there's 744 tens, which is a good amount. I mean, it's not like really rare. I mean, we saw a couple of them on, but it's not too many. But it's still probably his most popular card. So that's just one newer card I liked. Going to do another newer card. Let's see. I like this one a lot. Topps Chrome PSA 10 of Russell Wilson from 2012. And you can see these are trending up a lot in value as well. They were around 125, and now I think they're closer to 150. So they are like 120. I think did I botch his name wrong? Russell Wilson. No, I think I spelled it right. 2 S's, 2 L's. So, I mean, let's see if there's any on here to buy. No matches. I must have typed in something. See something. Topps Chrome, Russell Wilson. Topps Chrome. Just do this. Rookie. Okay, so that's better. So yeah, like you'll see if there's let's see if there's any PSA 10s. We'll just focus on that for now. Or even 9.5s are good too. So you see here 175, 200, 200, 200. There's nobody that's selling them anymore for 125. So they have kind of passed a little bit at that value. So which kind of sucks, because if you were say wanted to resell, your margin for profit's a lot smaller. And looks like a lot of 3 did 375, so that's 125. That was a good buy. But there's also tax 150. So yeah, even make a long story short, even at 150, it's still a good buy. Just because it's probably a 2-ish to 225 card. So there's still a lot of upside on him, and he is easily a future Hall of Famer. So I think him compared to like the other quarterbacks like Rodgers, then you have obviously Brady, then you have Mahomes, then you have Lamar Jackson, then like I said, Deshaun Watson. All those guys are probably in the top 5, top 7, and like Wilson's easily a top 5 quarterback right now on most people's charts. And then you obviously would have Breeze, and then you'd have some of the older guys like Roethlisberger still. But yeah, just because of what he's already accomplished and being so underrated, I think it's a really good card to target. So let's go back to someone on here. I'll pick on the list. I like JJ Watt a lot. I mean, people don't realize this. He is actually a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year award winner. So I mean, that's pretty insane if you think about it. I mean, his stuff is really cheap. I mean, I don't know if it's because the card is a vertical card, or I'm seeing a lot of 9s, or if it's just like that people don't like that card that much, but they should be selling for a lot higher. I know he's a defensive player, but some defensive players do bring big money. So you can see there's a couple of these that have sold recently for $50. So 35 there too. And I saw a bunch of these that were you could buy for that same price. Like look at this, like 44, 50, 49, 50. So there's three or four of them right there you can buy. Um, and this just going off this, it doesn't look like there's that many of these out there. 100, 198 according to this. So that could be a little higher. It can't be too much higher than that because they update that pretty regularly. So that is probably $100 card, I would say. Even though it's selling for 45, he's still got a lot of good years left. I know he's had injuries, um, but I would buy them just because at that price, just because it's easily a card that has a lot of upside to go up, and he's already a future Hall of Famer. So just for those reasons, that's a good bull candidate. If you want to buy all those for 50, I would recommend it just because you're not going to be able to find those much longer at that value. So let's do another one. See who else I like on here. I was researching Adrian Peterson. I know he had the thing with his son or whatever, so not as many people like him as much anymore. But I still think he's a future Hall of Famer, and they are starting to trend up in value. So right there, $90, $95. There's two good ones you can get of him right there. This is just on eBay. There's other avenues that you can buy stuff too, but it looks as if they're selling for that range. There's one that sold for 100. That one went cheap, 63 in February, 65. But those are from February. That's 2 months ago. So a lot of the Chrome stuff in football has trended up as well as other sports. So I like Peterson also. It's probably a 140-ish card, I would say. I would think that's where I would project that 140, 150. So even if you pay like 100 shipped, it's still a good buy. Because I think people will still like Peterson, just for the fact that he has a ton of good numbers. Another one that I was researching, which I was finding this really surprising, right? So, Andre Johnson, right? His stuff is really hard to find in high grade. So like let's see this for example, right? You type in Topps Chrome rookie him from 2003, and you'll see like that you cannot find this card. That was a black refractor, but um, let's see if there's a base. So there's a 9. It sold for let's say like 15, $20. I'm not gonna look that up now. But you can see here. Here's a 9, $40. They're not. There's people aren't giving this away, which means that like they're hard to find, and they're undervalued. And he's a future Hall of Famer also, easily. And it doesn't look like there's that many of these out there. Just look at the completed items. So I think this card right here is probably around whoever got this like a couple of weeks ago. That's probably around a $40-$50 card. So I wouldn't recommend paying 40 for him in a 9. Probably you want to pay around like what they sold for, around 20. And the 9s are probably like, I'd say around 40 to 50 of where they hit. So like right there, that's probably what that is worth. Because I'm not sure if those can go up in a 9 at that value, but it is really rare, so it could. Even in a 9, it's rare. So like if you ran the search on Andre Johnson, you would just see like how many of those are out there. So let's scroll up here and just run this same search I was telling you about. So if we type in like Andre Johnson Topps Chrome, and we'll see what the pop is on a 9 on that. So he is card number, it looks like 135. So I gotta wait for it to load so that I take a little time. Oh, actually, 135. For some reason he didn't come up though. Under rookies, right? Unless I read it wrong. Oh no, he's 195. Okay, sorry. So 195. We'll go to Andre Johnson. Just see, how many are out there. He didn't come up under 195 either, unless I'm on. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong thing here. 235. Okay, sorry. um. So yeah, let's see how many are out there. So you can see there's only 35 tens and there's 47 nines. So it's not that many. Um, I think it's something that keep an eye on just because it's very underrated even in that. So I mean, based on what I learned just there, probably I think it's probably like a 60 70 in a 9, and then like a 10 it's probably around like 140. Even though that other 10 went pretty cheap. Let's see what this sold for. Let's go back. So there hasn't been a 10 that sold in a while, which tells me that that's very underrated. But I'm not gonna spend too much more time on Andre Johnson. The other one I saw was Terrell Suggs. Wait till you see when you find out what the pop is on that. Look what that sold for. $403, and there's only 12 of them. So what that tells me is, again, that's another card to target in probably a 9, which might be difficult to find also, just because there might not, like this one I was looking at earlier today, and it has a little bit of corner wear. It's not in great shape. It's not going to get a 9. But yeah, that's a card to find like in a 9 also. There's no one really giving it away, and he's going to make the Hall of Fame also, Terrell Suggs. Let me see who I had on my other list here. Oh, right. Okay. So I also liked, he just actually retired. So you'll see him on here, Luke Kuechly. His name is hard to spell. Luke. Let's see. So this one I saw earlier, and I was looking at it, $27. That's pretty cheap. There's not a lot of them out there. From when I was researching, there's probably a pop of like around 50 or so. Really underrated card. Good long term investment. Where it. There you go, right here. One sold for $25 recently. So if another one sold for that means that one's easily going to sell also. But that's a good long term investment. Most people have him as a first ballot Hall of Famer too. His career is a little shorter, but he was like first team All Pro like 6 times. So just for those reasons, I think he'll get in the Hall, and that's a good buy also. Um, the last couple before I wrap up this episode was I wanted to do go back to the Deshaun Watsons, and because I know I mentioned him a lot earlier. So you'll see here that these are trending up a lot. So like for instance, let's go to tens of him. So like for instance, 200. They were only like 160 a couple like less than a week ago. They were around like 160. Um, there's that's probably a 250 $300 card. Just because Watson is a guy that is just out of the top 5, or even in some cases in the top 5. So 195. But you'll see the trend. 184, 178. You see how like they've gone up. 166. I was actually bidding on these and I didn't win. Like I was thinking that I didn't want to. I wanted to pay around 150 so I could get it for 160, but I'm really wishing I won those when they were on, because I was actually bidding on those last week. I didn't get them just because you can see these I also bidded on also, and because they were ones I clicked on, and I didn't get them either. But that's also probably like a 250 card, I would say, next year. Um, One other one I was gonna wrap up was a guy that stood out to me. He didn't actually get elected. It was the Patrick Willis. Um, I know I've done a couple of defensive players, but I'm trying to find guys that are good buys that have like sneaky good upside. And I didn't see any when I was doing the search. I didn't see any Patrick Willis like PSA 10s. But the thing that stood out to me is like, I mean, you can get an auto chrome of him for like $10. I mean, that's pretty cheap. That has to be like a 25 or like $30 card. It's a Topps Chrome auto of like a guy that was like a really popular defensive player. I mean, it's worth $10. I mean, if I'm telling you to buy it for $10 and you can't make anything on it, like I'll take it off you for $10. I mean, it's worth $10. So I saw one on here like the similar card of that for around. I think some guy wanted like 25. Yep, there it is right there. So 25 or best offer. But yeah, that's a card, you could submit. Like the guy might take 12 or might take 10. You could get it for like 15 shipped. Who knows? But keep an eye on Willis. Just because ultimately I think he does get in the Hall of Fame, and you can see here there's not a lot of those out there either of tens of him. So it's a card that if he does get in the Hall of Fame, you want to make sure to have it, and then that's probably the time to either sell it or you could keep it for your collection, just because that is his registry card. But I'm going to do more of these videos where I point out good cards to buy, either based on the registry or based on just who I like for the season, or just trying to project values. But this is how you want to do it. You want to analyze the pop reports. If you're looking at graded, you could look at ungraded as well. You kind of want to try to project future values as if when you're buying. So probably my favorite one would be, I would probably be most confident in the either the JJ Watt at $50. I think that's a no brainer. Or I would say the Calvin Johnsons, if you can find them, just because they're so rare. So want to hear your guys' comments. If you want me to do more stuff like related to like how to utilize the population report, how to utilize what you should be looking for in the population report, why it's important, or how to utilize like the registry, like which I just did a couple of times, gave you a number of examples. And again, you can do this on your phone, which is a little easier. I just did it on the computer just because I didn't want to like stop the video and start it and things like that. But who else are you guys buying for football? I might do another segment on football, just because football seems to be like red hot right now, and especially the Chrome stuff and Prism stuff. So yeah, just let me guys know, and if you bought anyone from this video, or if you took anything from this video, I'd like to hear about it. But yeah, that's it for episode 2 of this show, the Sports Card Man Experience. Thanks again for watching.